Hi, how's it going? This is a resident of Collinwood for YouTube, back with another video for you guys. This video is about Halloween Resurrection, a film I love, by the way. I enjoy Halloween Resurrection from beginning to end. I know there are those who don't love to complain about this movie, but I enjoy it. There are a lot of interesting things about it. Here's, some things I find really interesting about it. Number one, obviously Harold the clown. I know the producers have said, well, that Michael doesn't frame Harold. No, I think Michael absolutely does frame Harold for the death of Laurie Strode. But I will get into the counterpoint of what I think happens with Laurie. That yes, she dies, but there's another little interesting tidbit with Resurrection that I love. With Harold, Harold scares one of the security guards earlier in the film outside, and he says, the security guard asked him, who are you supposed to be today? He said John Wayne Gacy. And later on, the other security guard is saying about, I don't mean to question your work, but if you put Harold in his room, who do I see? Why do I see him walking down the hall? So even the security guard who sees Michael on the camera is saying it's Harold. That's what I find interesting. And then in the laundry room, what's really interesting is the security guard, I forget their names, but the the one that criticized the other one, he walks into the room and he's looking right at him. Now, I don't believe Michael has his back turned either. I think Michael's staring at him. And the security guard goes, "What are you doing, Harold?" I'm thinking, uh, wait a second. He just called him Harold, like straight up, like, oh shit. So even the security guard, who, they think it's Harold, which is interesting. Now we know Michael hands him the knife later on, and I know there are going to be people say he does it out of homage, he does it out of respect. Yeah, the smartest serial killer ever to known to man isn't trying to frame another mental patient for his sister's murder. I don't buy that. I truly think he is trying to frame Harold. And then there's Laurie's death, which is really interesting. And here's people mainly complain about this. Again, I don't love the way she died. That could have been done better, but hey, she dies. She gets killed off. It is what it is. Here's what I find interesting: the events that take place in Resurrection. The story takes place in two different. One takes place the year prior, then one that takes place the very next year. So the very next Halloween, the very next time October comes around, we're in Haddonfield basically. And I know that they weren't really, they were in Canada, but basically Canada is Haddonfield. Um, Canada, you made a nice Haddonfield. Uh, I'm sure they'll be flattered. Um, Here's what I find interesting: there's nothing gets said about Laurie Strode's death. This woman was born and raised in Haddonfield. I don't think this is a plot error either, and I don't think this is done out of because they forgot. I think it's done because of a plot, because of the plot, and because another reason I think it's done is because I don't think her death was reported as a murder. I think her death was just reported as a suicide, and that's why no one talks about it. I really do. I think that's Because what would be the big deal about talking about suicide? There would be none. Now, they do have a psychology class, a professor, and there are a couple students in his class that are going to be part of the movie, Sarah Moyer being one of the main ones. Again, I've always found this interesting. Her death doesn't get talked about. That or they covered it up, by saying, oh, she jumped. And really, it wouldn't be far fetched if they did, because what did one of the nurses say? Oh, they found her up on the roof several times. They sort of lay that seed in the movie that, hey, they could just say she jumped. And the only thing to really prove otherwise is the knife wound in her back. And I mean, hey, if they're going to hide it, who the hell else is going to say anything different? I mean, if they just say, well, Lori jumped, and the security guards, they could just say they ran off, or blame it on, better yet, blame their deaths on Harold. They could just, that's that's something I think did happen. I don't think Harold got framed for the death of Lori. Oh, no, no, no. Harold got framed for the death of the security guards, because Laurie Strode Laurie Strode's death was too easily to explain. Oh, she jumped. Yep, she jumped. Are you sure? Yep, she jumped. Too easy to explain. And the security guards, I just think they pinned on Harold. Harold was already there as a patient for impersonating serial killers. He idolized them. I mean, look, he was Michael Myers was the big to Harold. Michael Myers was the biggest celebrity he ever met. I know that sounds weird, but it is. Meeting Michael Myers to Harold was the equivalent of anyone meeting their favorite celebrity. And I love the character because it's deep as hell from a psychological standpoint. But in the same sense, the character sort of is doomed to this crazy fate that, he's getting framed for murder. Now, whichever murder they decided to, use. Oh yeah, hey, Harold killed the security guard. So why would Harold kill? Well, he just snapped. I mean, the doctors could just explain this away all too easily. They could just burn the security footage of Michael, or better yet, they couldn't, and just say, "Hey, that was Harold right there, right there." And you know what Harold's going to say? He's going to repeat Michael Myers. He's going to repeat that line. He's the other than resurrection. I felt sorry for that character a bit, actually. I mean, because he's literally he's there to be framed. I mean, in every way. I'm not saying there's things he didn't do to deserve to be in there. He certainly probably did. But here's Michael Myers, the smartest fictional serial killer ever, and he gets framed. Harold gets framed by him. Um, Lori's death gets ruled as suicide, probably. And that's the thing too. I think it's logical to think that, because no one's talking about Laurie Strode being murdered the year prior. In fact, there's a newspaper clipping down in the basement that Donna discovers. It doesn't say about her death at the sanitarium. It says about her surviving the Halloween massacre from 1978, and I think about her first fake death, about her car accident. But it doesn't say about her death in the sanitarium. Again, which is interesting. It it's really, really interesting that that doesn't happen in Resurrection. Nothing gets said about Laurie's death the next year, and I gotta believe that her death was covered up as a suicide. That her death was not ruled as a murder in that hospital. That what's okay? if Laurie Strode's death is ruled a suicide, what's the sense in talking about that? You know what I mean? And that would make sense. And like I said, the security guards, their deaths got ruled murder by Harold. They that's the deaths that Harold got framed for, really, not Laurie's. I've always felt it was Laurie's, but I'm not so convinced anymore. I'm more convinced it was the security guards he got framed for. And Michael did a beautiful job framing his ass. Um, I really enjoy the scenes in the house. The lighting is good, the pace is good. I really enjoy each and every kill. The kills are very creatively done. I'll say this: one of my favorite scenes before the fight sequence between Freddie Harris and Michael Myers is the fight sequence between Rudy and Michael Myers. Holy shit! I mean, I'm thinking, dude, he's gonna kill you. It's really, really good. I love how they choreographed that. That was that was really well done. I gotta give them a lot of credit for that. It's still one of my favorite sequences to where it's like, oh shit, like you're sort of wondering if Rudy's gonna at least catch Michael with one of them, and then the audience is gonna realize, oh wait a second, he actually stabbed that guy, and come to that realization that it's real and not fake. Because remember, they're cheering; they think this is just all part of an act. Even when Rudy dies, even when Rudy dies, which I find interesting, when Rudy dies, they still think, well, it's still an act, which is it's not till the very bitter end when it's just Sarah Moyer and she messages, that guy at the party, that they realize, oh, this whole time it's been real. It hasn't been an act. It hasn't been choreographed. Because what's by the time resurrection takes place, you know, you got to realize one thing. Everybody knew reality shows were choreographed. Reality shows are written, by the way. So they aren't as real as they look, right? So they sort of take advantage of that with the plot point of resurrection, which I love. It's really smart and really clever. So the college kids who are watching this are like, oh, it's so fake. Hey, smart. I give the writers a lot of credit there. Again, there's a lot of good cleverness of Resurrection. It's a clever film. I really enjoyed how, again, I've always defended the character of Freddie Harris, and I still will, simply because the character hated to lose, and he does. Think about this: there's a contest to see who goes in the house. They're drawing names. So when Sarah Moyer wants to drop out because she's been one of the names chosen, they didn't just throw the other names away that they had. He could have easily found another girl to scare her easily, but no, he wants her. He he doesn't want to lose her. I've always found this curious with this character, that he hates to lose for whatever reason. Again, I think there's more of a deeper seated mind behind it, that he had an experience where he did lose and it ate at him. And I think really the biggest case of that is Bill's death when they lose a camera. Keep in mind, there's six people in the house. Now there's only five. So five other cameras, including the ones that are set up in the house, really. And he's mad about this. He's mad that the camera went out. And I'm thinking, dude, there's five other cameras. What's the big deal? Like, why are you? And it's like, oh, I see. You hate to lose, which is interesting because you most athletes hate to lose. They do. They just can't stand it. So neither can he. He can't stand the lose. I really enjoy the fight sequence between, Freddie Harris and Michael Myers. Yeah, he does kick him. He kicks him one time. Michael blocks the next kick. Sarah Moyer jumps on Michael before he can stab Freddy. Finally, Sarah gets thrown off, and then Michael Myers gets kicked again, and this time out a window. So two kicks. That's it. I just think a lot of people overreact to it, and really, what is there to overreact to? it's not. It's not that big of a deal. I mean, the guy's supposed to know self-defense. That's self-defense. And by the way, Michael Myers has never gone up against a character that's known karate, so why should Michael Myers know how to defend it? Why should he know how to, you know, cut through somebody like that? And really, again, he only gets kicked once and then blocks the next kick. It's sort of when you look at the the death of Sasha Jensen's character in Halloween 4, it's similar to that, where Sasha Jensen's character is upstairs and he hits Michael with the butt of a shotgun. Now, Buster Rhymes' character doesn't get killed, obviously, or have a shotgun, but it's somewhat similar to that, where Michael takes a hit with the butt of a shotgun and then blocks the next hit and gets rid of the gun. The key difference is there's someone else in Resurrection to help Buster Rhymes fight off Michael Myers and Sarah Moyer. Rachel Carruthers runs away because Sasha Jensen's character tells her to, and she listens to him. That's the biggest difference. And so I really, really, in every way, and I've said this, Freddie Harris got really lucky that Sarah Moyer was there, because if she wasn't, he'd be dead. I mean, he would be. I've said this. It's a great sort of hypothesis of, you know, you can't take anything away from Sarah Moyer because hey, she defeated Michael Myers as much as Freddie Harris did. They both did, really. If it weren't for them working in unison to defeat him, they wouldn't have got out of there alive. They would have been dead. It's really, again, I enjoy Resurrection. I've always given this movie an 8.5, and I know that's gonna get ridiculed. I enjoy it. My favorite scene. Oh God. Again, I think I said Rudy with the knives is one of my favorite scenes. I was sort of shocked that they killed that character. Laurie Strode's death isn't the most shocking to me. Rudy's is because again, he's a really good character. I like the character. Really, really good. Donna's death is brutal. I mean, impaled. That is just wow. Impaled underneath in the basement. Impaled. Just boom. Again, really well done. So I hope you guys enjoy my Halloween Resurrection little tidbit here. I didn't get into the whole film, I don't think. I only got into bits and pieces. I do find something else a little curious because I do think Michael did stalk Sarah a bit, but I'm sort of wondering how much of it was Michael and how much of it was Freddie Harris. That's what I find curious about Resurrection. Because remember, Freddie Harris dresses up as Michael later. That's sort of what causes the one guy's death. because when he sees Michael, he thinks it's Freddie Harris. But then I think he remembered, you know, as Michael was pointing the tripod then at him to kill him, that hey, wait, Freddy's not here. He's somewhere else. Oh no, which is interesting. So again, there are a lot of little interesting tidbits of Resurrection that are just fun to look at. Really, really fun. Hope you guys have a great night. I'll see you soon.